You're listening to the Holo Health Podcast with Alex Cottingham and Trevor Deal. We know that health is hard and confusing, primarily because we lived it. It's part of our story, and we struggled for years until we discovered a better way. On this podcast, we cut through the noise of culture, talk about health the way God designed it, and how you can pursue it. If you're a Jesus follower who cares about your health, then you're in the right place. Get ready for the tangible and actionable steps to build a body, mind, and soul that you're proud of, or as we like to say, so that you can become truly healthy. Let's dive into the show. Welcome back to the Holo Health Podcast. I'm Trevor Deal, one of your hosts, joined by my co-host and good friend, Alex Cottingham. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing swell, brother. How are you?
Good, living the dream. Hey, today we're talking about how to lose weight. Okay, this falls up underneath. Primarily, we're focusing on one of our 7 habits of health, eat clean, specifically around nutritionally. What can we do? How do we manage and improve our nutrition to lose weight? A lot of people, as they get into health, want to figure this part of the equation out. And so we're going to dive in specifically today in this episode and just talk about how you can do that. We're going to talk about 2 different verticals in which we do that. But first, we want to talk about it from the lens of true health. Alex, I want you to share a little bit of this picture on, hey, if we're living a truly healthy life, this is the approach that we're taking in terms of losing weight.
Yeah, so in terms of becoming truly healthy, there is an alternative. It is culture's version of health. I bring this up because it impacts why. If you have a desire to lose weight, that is good. But what I want you to do is dig deep and ask why. Because if we have the secular paradigm of health, 9 out of 10 times, I want to lose weight to look better, to look good, to feel better about myself, and transform my body, manipulate my body for my own means. That is culture's version of health. True health, on the other side, says, I want to steward well what God has given me, my body, mind, and soul. So it's a means of stewardship. And I want to become a better person of love. I want to love my spouse better, my kids better, my neighbor better, my friends better, pretty much everyone I come in contact with. So it's a matter of a means to an end to love others better. And then when I have that mindset or as the foundation, then the byproduct of that is losing weight and looking good and feeling good about yourself. But that's not the end all be all. The end all be all is stewardship. And then a byproduct of that is looking good in the mirror. And it's a revolutionary idea, but that is step number 1.
Yeah, once we get through that mindset, the only thing I would mention here, listeners, is that that's a process. It takes a lot of time. It takes consistently reminding yourself and renewing your mind on, why am I doing this? Why am I seeking to steward my body well? It's not a flip a switch. We still have to wrestle with that on a daily basis. But the point is being aware, being able to wrestle with that and understanding and coming back to this place of, I want to steward my body well. Again, a byproduct of that is going to be losing weight. So now we're going to transition specifically and talk about 2 different ways we can go about the process of stewarding our body well through nutrition. Okay, there's 2 ways, Alex. The first is going to be more control. The second is going to be less control. Let's talk about the more control first.
Yeah, more control falls under the buckets of tracking your macros, having specific meal plans, having pretty much understanding everything that you're doing, versus low control is more the protein plate method and more principles rather than high control.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know exactly how much weight to lose, you're going to track your macros. Now, it's not the most sustainable, but it will work. And I know, Trevor, you can kind of flavor that a little bit more.
Yeah, when it comes to just tracking your food, it just boils down to being more aware of the approximate intake that you're bringing. In the last episode, which we talked about, your total consumption, or excuse me, the total quantity of food you eat in calories determines your weight. To be able to understand how to lose weight, we need to understand how much food we're intaking, how many calories we're taking in, because it is a math equation. It's calories in versus calories out. Okay, but on a deeper level, if we are tracking these, okay, you can use an app called MyFitnessPal. It's there's a free version and then there's a paid version, and honestly it's a really great tool. Both Alex and myself, in some facet of life and in season of our health journey, we have tracked, but we don't currently track. Alex mentioned that last week. I do not either. But if you're tracking, it gives you an approximation of what's coming in. You're more aware. And so because you're more aware, you can see progress typically at a more sustainable, quick speed. Like Alex said, it may not be sustainable because it does take effort or an additional layer of intentionality to track foods. But what you can simply do, if this is the route that you want to go, is just to start by downloading MyFitnessPal and put in some of your metrics. You're going to need to assess kind of your baseline of calories. And so, we sent out in a 3 and 30, funny enough, this past week. If you're listening to this, we sent it out on October 10th, 2024. And it talks about BMR, your basal metabolic rate. This is kind of at a resting stage. If you just woke up and lived, sat on the couch, laid in the bed, how many calories your body burns on a daily basis just to stay alive. You can use a lot of different tools online to give you a general calculation of that. And even MyFitnessPal will do that. But I'll link in the show notes a pretty trustworthy, accurate source to give you a starting point for that. And you're going to use that number inside of inside MyFitnessPal. And then you're going to take a slight deficit on that number, and you're going to aim for just a little bit less of that value. So, for example, Alex, I always recommend about a 300 to 500 calorie deficit. You're going to be hungry, but you're not going to be like famished. If you're in a calorie deficit, you should be a little bit hungry because you're not getting as much energy as your body needs. But generally speaking, if I should be intaking about 2,000 calories a day based on my BMR and my activity level, then I would aim to take in about 1,500 to 1,700 calories. Again, it's a moving target in the sense that you're not going to be perfectly accurate if you're tracking. The point isn't to be perfectly accurate, it's to get the best approximation, as well as just monitoring your weight once a week. I encourage to understand what's actually working and what adjustments need to be made. That's a very, very basic starting point on the tracking calories and macronutrients. What we can go into in just a second, kind of that macronutrient breakdown and the profile of that, Alex, but that's where I would say from a tracking calories perspective, more controllable, we could start.
Yeah, I'll just simplify in a few sentences what Trevor just said in a few minutes. If you want to lose weight and have total control, you need to monitor what you are eating. And one of the best ways to do that is to track overall calories and then track overall macros. Macros are just your macronutrients, your proteins, carbs, and fats. But if you want to lose weight, you need to eat less than what you are burning. You need to be in what's called a caloric deficit. So that is the simplest thing. And the reason we track is to make sure we are there, because we can guess and think, oh, I'm only eating 1,800 or 2,000 calories, where in reality, we're eating 2,400 calories. And even the slightest margin of error, eating an extra 1, 2, 3, 400 calories, will not put us in a deficit and will not have us lose weight. So the most foolproof is to track everything that you're eating. And like he said, there's some easy tools like MyFitnessPal to do that. Now, Trevor, the question becomes, and I get this a lot, I hate tracking. I don't want to track. It's all consuming. I get super frustrated at it, and I don't want to track, but I want to lose weight. Now what?
Great question, Alex. And before we transition here, I do plan on linking those links in the show notes if you want to check out MyFitnessPal, the link to be able to get maybe an accurate caloric intake that you should be shooting for, and macro breakdown based on your activity level. So just go check out the show notes if that's a route you want to go. But hey, most people don't want to track, and that's totally okay. I don't actually believe we're designed to track our total caloric intake and our foods that we eat. That's just not fun or sustainable. I did it for a long time and eventually just got really burnt out. So we don't want to do that, right? That's where you are. That's what do we do from here? well, we start to really focus on what's the biggest needle mover when it comes to nutrition. What are some of the biggest problems? What are causing excess weight, obesity, or causing some of these things, weight gain? Well, we talked about it, in one of our previous episodes, but it comes down to ultra processed foods, the overconsumption of ultra processed foods. We're eating too many calories. The reason that specifically is the problem is because those have a high caloric density. There's a lot of calories in those foods. Okay, think the donuts, the cupcakes, the fast food you're eating out. Some of those different foods have a lot of calories in them, and they're easy to eat. They taste really yummy. So you're eating those things, and you're not paying attention to your calorie intake, and so you're going to gain weight. So how do we solve that problem? What do we do? Okay, so the first solution comes from, let's eat more real foods. Let's eat more foods that God designed and gave us in nature. Think fresh fruits and vegetables, plants, animals, nuts, seeds, things found in nature, not made in a plant. Okay, eating those foods, just a transition to eating more of those foods, will inherently allow you to lose weight if that's your goal, because they have less calories in total in them, and they're more filling. It is worth noting that either way you go, there needs to be structure. Okay. On the more controllable side, there is structure. We can talk about a little bit of structure here on this specifically, quote unquote, less controllable route on how to lose weight. But primarily, it's going to be, hey, how can I eat more real, real meals? Excuse me, meals made up of whole, clean, real foods. So think, how can I eat a meal where I choose a protein source and then build a fruit or a veggie around it, and then maybe add in a little bit of whole grain? And how do I continually do that? You shifting to that approach of making most of your meals look like that, which we talk about the protein plate method, which is exactly what I just described there. That's kind of like a template or a guide on how to build those meals, linked in the show notes below. It allows you to be able to practically have a visual and an idea of what to do without specifically tracking. And the more consistent you are with that approach versus the overconsumption of ultra processed foods, you're going to see changes in the mirror just by simply the way that those foods are distributed from a calorie front. And I'll pause right there.
Yeah, Trevor, you hit the nail on the head. If we're not going to have precision with tracking, then there has to be guiding principles. And these guiding principles are eat real foods in sensible portions, and we minimize refined sugar and processed foods as best we can. Like that's got to be our MO. Some tips include what we call the protein plate method, building your plate with half quarter quarter, half veggies, quarter protein, quarter starch, or maybe quarter fruit. Um, Shop on the perimeter of the grocery store, not in the aisles. Always prioritize nutrients over convenience. Um, Pack your lunch. You're in control more rather than just eating out or eating what's in the break room. There's a lot of other tips, but in general, when you eat more whole, clean, real foods, it will take care of the quality and the quantity piece.
Mm-hmm.
Quality meaning how I'm going to feel, what
Mm-hmm.
nutrients my body needs, my metabolic health. The quantity is I just need to lose weight, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And like you said, whole, clean, real foods are less calorically dense than a Snickers bar or ice cream. So you're going to eat less. So it's really that simple.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, Trevor, is those are the food God designed. We weren't designed to track. So the foods that he made for us to eat were to rule the earth and subdue the earth. All the fish and the livestock are for us to rule and eat. That God designed back in Genesis 1. Those are the food that give our body, that allow our bodies to thrive.
Yeah. It is worth noting that we are specifically talking about nutrition net any sort of activity. We're not talking about what we should be incorporating, how that factors into the equation. We're simply talking about, from a nutritional approach, how do we lose weight? Okay, and it is a calories in, calories out standpoint. Even if you're trying to, or you want to not track, and you want to stick with the less controllable approach, like Alex said, those structures and those tips are very key. I would also encourage you just to weigh yourself once a week. That's going to allow you to understand if the approach that you're taking and some of those principles and structure that you put into place are actually working, rather than just guessing, right? And then you can make adjustments if that's needed. But if I had to just kind of like really bluntly say, I would venture to say 95% of the world, if they ate in this structure, if they used this structure I'm about to share, they would start to see changes in the mirror. They would steward their body well. Their body would feel, you would feel better. You'd have more energy, and you would start to like how you see in the mirror as well. It would be that if you eat 21 meals a week, 7 days a week, 3 meals a day, if you had 17 of those 21 meals adhere to, again, our approach of the protein plate method, but just really just focused on quality foods, real foods. If you had 17 of those 21 meals inside of the week that you consistently adhered to, which just means you consistently ate those, you would lose weight. I would be willing to bet for the vast majority of people that want to lose weight and steward their body well, if they took that approach, you would see the results that you're trying to see in the mirror. Now, there comes a little bit more specificity with some of these things. Each individual and the approach is a little bit different, but generally speaking, that approach is going to work for you if you're looking to lose weight. Some encouragement I would add in here as we're kind of rounding third in this episode, Alex, is how do you incorporate moderation? I still want the ice cream. That's great. You should have it. God isn't here to restrict. He didn't create these foods for us to only have these and then never enjoy some of these like really yummy foods like buffalo chicken dip or ice cream or, the hot and ready Krispy Kreme donut. It's allowing yourself margin to be able to enjoy those foods, but having a clear structure on how you're nourishing your body. And that's why I said 17 out of 21. That's 80%. If you're 80% or more consistent, you're going to see results. But those 4 extra meals do allow the flexibility of like, hey, I'm just going to go grab a burger and fries with a friend. Or I'm just going to grab a pizza with my spouse because that's what we want to do. We want to have pizza tonight. And then when it comes to kind of the sweets and things like that, look at your intake now. If you eat 6 sweets a week, cut it in half. Hey, I'm going to have 3. And then just ask yourself, is this something that like I want to use my 3 on? I'm working towards these goals. I want to steward my body well. Is this a sweet that I want to count towards my 3? If the answer is yes, enjoy it. But you shouldn't feel guilty about that. And there should be some incorporation of the more pleasurable foods. We balance. Eating clean is focused on prioritizing nourishing foods while enjoying pleasurable ones as well.
That's all I got, Trevor. I got nothing to add.
Yeah. Again, those 2 options are really just focused on, do I want to track or do I not want to track? But really it all encapsulates, we are approaching how do we live a truly healthy life, which is not about glamorizing or demonizing the body. It's not about making the body the idol or the focal point. It's about stewarding what we've been given well. From that perspective, you can and will see changes in the mirror. That's a byproduct of living a truly healthy life. We hope you enjoyed this conversation on, again, just kind of how to lose weight, some practical advice or a couple different structure pieces for you to incorporate. Again, all of those links kind of from the things we talked about will be put in the show notes. If you have any questions, reach out to us on Instagram, and we hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next episode of the Whole Health Podcast.